Welcome to the deep dive. We all kind of want a life that feels, well, right, satisfying.
hmm It's a pretty universal feeling, I think.
Yeah, and today we're diving deep into Designing Your Life. It's by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans.
Right. The Stanford guys, they've been working with students for ages, helping them navigate those big forks in the road.
Exactly. But what's cool is their ideas aren't just for college kids figuring things out. It's really practical stuff.
Totally. For anyone really who's maybe thinking, how can I make things feel a bit better, more meaningful?
Mm-hmm.
And the core idea as well is taking principles from design thinking.
Like how you design a product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That same iterative experimental process, understanding, ideating, prototyping, testing,
Okay.
and applying that whole toolkit to your own life.
Huh. So it's not about finding that one single passion, that elusive thing.
Not really, no. It's more about building, intentionally building a life that works for you, that feels fulfilling, that's very action-oriented.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So let's dig in. They start with these 5 key mindsets, right, as the foundation.
Yeah, that's right. These are sort of the mental frameworks you need. And the first one is curiosity.
Curiosity. Seems simple enough.
Well, yes and no. It's about genuinely wanting to know more, asking those what-if questions,
Mm-hmm.
and just exploring possibilities without shutting them down immediately. They actually have this great quote in the book.
Oh, yeah.
There's something interesting about everything,
Uh-huh.
which is quite a challenge,
But
really.
yeah, it is. So it's about shifting your perspective. Like,
Yeah.
instead of thinking this is boring, ask what?
Ask things like, okay, what would someone who finds this fascinating want to know? Or even just, how does that actually work?
Right. It's about engaging actively, not passively, opening things up,
Exactly. And that mindset naturally leads into the second one,
which is
bias to action.
Okay. This one really jumped out at me because, how often do we just think and plan and
And think some more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get stuck in our heads.
Totally. Analysis paralysis. This mindset is all about breaking that cycle.
It's about doing stuff, trying things out, experimenting, even in really small, low-stakes ways.
Learning by doing, basically.
Precisely. Instead of trying to figure everything out perfectly in theory before you take a single step.
Like, you want to change careers, don't just read about it.
Yeah, maybe go talk to someone actually doing it. Or volunteer for a weekend. Get some real data.
Build little prototypes of potential futures.
You got it. That's the essence.
Okay. Then number 3 is reframing.
This one's about how we define our problems. It's huge.
How so?
Well, the way you frame a problem often dictates the solutions you can even imagine. If you frame it poorly, you might be stuck trying to solve the wrong thing.
Right. So reframing helps you get unstuck.
Exactly. It helps you look at the challenge from different angles. Maybe the problem isn't as big as you thought.
Or maybe it's not even a problem, but an opportunity in disguise.
Could be. Or maybe you're focusing on something you can't change when you should be looking at what you can influence. Reframing gives you that flexibility.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the 4th mindset?
Number 4 is awareness.
Awareness. Awareness of what?
Awareness that life design isn't like a project you finish. It's not a destination you arrive at.
Okay. It's ongoing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a process. You're always learning, always adapting, always tweaking the design.
And knowing that helps manage frustration when things don't go perfectly.
For sure. Because those bumps, those detours, they aren't failures of the plan. They're just part of the ongoing design process itself. You learn from them and adjust.
Right. It takes the pressure off finding the perfect path immediately.
It acknowledges that you change, your circumstances change, and your life design needs to evolve too.
Got it. And the last one, number 5.
Radical collaboration.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. Radical.
Yeah. It basically means you don't have to do this alone. In fact, you shouldn't.
So asking for help, sharing ideas.
Yes. And being genuinely open to other people's perspectives, their
Yeah.
experiences, their support. It's about building your own sort of personal design team.
Huh. We often feel like we need to have all the answers ourselves, don't we?
We really do.
Yeah.
But collaboration brings in fresh eyes, different experiences. Someone might see something you've completely missed.
Yeah, talking things through can unlock so much. Leveraging collective wisdom.
Exactly. It's a core part of the design process in any field,
Mhm.
and it's just as crucial for life design.
Okay, so those 5 mindsets,
Yeah.
curiosity, bias to action, reframing, awareness, radical collaboration, they're the foundation.
Right, the way you need to approach things.
But the book doesn't just stop at theory, does it? It gives you actual things to do, exercises.
Oh yeah, it's very practical. One of the first things they suggest is doing your Workview and Lifeview reflections.
Okay, what are those?
They're basically short written pieces, maybe around 250 words each.
Mm.
The Workview is about your philosophy of work. What's it for? Why do you do it? What makes work good or meaningful to you? And the Lifeview is, well, bigger. What's your view of the world? What gives life meaning? What are your core values? What's ultimately important?
So digging into your personal philosophy.
Exactly. Making the implicit explicit. The idea is that these reflections help you build your compass.
A compass for navigating decisions.
Precisely. When you're clear on your Workview and Lifeview, it's easier to see if an opportunity or path aligns with what truly matters to you.
Okay, that sounds really foundational. What else?
Another key exercise is the Good Time Journal.
Good time journal. Sounds nice.
It is, and it's pretty straightforward. You basically log your activities over, say, a few weeks.
Just track what you're doing.
Yeah, but with specific attention to two things for each activity,
Mm.
engagement and energy.
Engagement and energy. Okay, so how absorbed was I, and did it charge me up or drain me?
Exactly. And you also jot down any reflections or things you learned. They suggest doing it maybe twice a week.
What's the point of that? To find patterns?
Yes. To get real data on what actually engages you and energizes you in your current life, it's often surprising. Things you think you enjoy might actually be draining you.
Ah, okay. Like maybe scrolling social media feels okay in the moment, but leaves you feeling empty?
Could be. Or maybe a challenging task at work, while difficult, actually leaves you feeling energized and engaged. This journal helps you see that.
And then you can do more of the good stuff.
Well, yeah, but you can also dig deeper into why something was engaging or energizing. That's where the AEIOU framework comes in.
AEIOU, like the vowels.
Haha, yeah. It's an acronym to help you analyze those good time journal entries more closely.
Okay. What does it stand for?
Activities, what were you actually doing? Environment, where were you? What was the space like? Interactions, who are you with? What was the nature of the interaction? Objects, what things or devices were you using? And users, who else was involved or impacted?
Wow, okay. That's detailed.
It helps you pinpoint the specific elements that made an experience positive or negative. Was it the task itself? The noisy office? The collaborative chat? The software you used?
So instead of just, I liked that project, it's, I liked the collaborative brainstorming part of that project when we were using the whiteboard in the quiet room.
Exactly. That level of detail gives you much clearer clues about what kinds of activities, environments, and interactions to seek out more of.
Makes sense. Very analytical. What if you're feeling stuck, though? Or just want new ideas?
That's where mind mapping comes in handy.
Ah, mind maps. I've seen those. Bubbles and lines, right?
Yep. You start with a central topic, maybe something from your good time journal, an interest, a problem, and you just branch out.
Just free associate.
Yeah. Write down related words, ideas, questions, anything that comes to mind. The key is no censorship. Just let it flow.
And that helps spark new connections.
Totally. It gets you out of that linear thinking rut. You can see relationships and possibilities you might not have otherwise. Great for brainstorming potential paths.
Okay, cool. Now, I heard about one that sounds bigger. Odyssey planning.
Ah, yes.
Hi.
Odyssey Plans. This is a really fun and sometimes mind-bending exercise.
Sounds like it. What's involved?
You create 3 different 5-year plans for your life. 3 alternative versions of your future.
3 completely different lives.
Pretty much. Plan A might be based on your current trajectory or dominant idea you have. Plan B is maybe what you'd do if Plan A suddenly vanished. And Plan C, well, Plan C is the wild card. What would you do if money or image weren't an issue?
Whoa. Okay, and you just write these out.
You actually visualize them. For each plan, you create a timeline for the 5 years, give it a cool 6-word headline.
Like a newspaper headline.
Kinda, yeah. Something catchy that captures the essence. Then you write down 2 or 3 key questions that this particular life path would explore for you.
Questions it would answer. Okay.
And finally, you rate each plan on a little dashboard. Things like, do I have the resources? Do I like this idea? Am I confident I could do it? Does it feel coherent with my Workview Lifeview?
Huh. What's the goal of all that? It sounds like a lot of work.
The goal isn't to pick one and follow it rigidly. It's to generate options, to realize there isn't just one right life for you.
Ah, to open up your thinking about possibility.
Exactly. And seeing them laid out like that, with the questions in the dashboard, helps you understand your own desires and assumptions much better. It often reveals hidden priorities.
I can see that. It forces you to really consider alternatives seriously.
Mm-hmm. It's a powerful way to fight against feeling stuck or believing there's only one path forward.
Okay, so you've got ideas, maybe some Odyssey plans. How do you test them out without, quitting your job and moving to Tibet?
Right. That's where prototyping comes in.
Hmm.
It's all about low-risk ways to explore those potential paths. Biased action, remember.
Right, right. Learning by doing. So how do you prototype a life path?
Two main ways they suggest are life design interviews and prototype experiences.
Life design interview sounds like a job interview.
Not at all. That's key. It's not about asking for a job. It's about finding someone who is doing something you're curious about or living a life that seems interesting.
Okay.
And asking to hear their story. How do they get there? What's it really like? What do they love? What are the challenges?
So you're gathering information and insights from their lived experience.
Exactly. Framing it as, I'd love to hear some of your story, makes it much less transactional and more about genuine curiosity. People often love to share their journeys.
I can see how that would give you a much richer picture than just reading a job description,
Absolutely. And then there are prototype experiences.
which are more hands-on.
Yeah. These are small-scale ways to dip your toe in the water. It could be shadowing someone for a day, doing a short volunteer project in a field that interests you, taking a weekend workshop.
Like a mini internship or a trial run?
Kind of anything that gives you a direct taste of what that path might involve without requiring a massive commitment up front. It lets you learn quickly. Maybe you love it, maybe you hate it, but either way, you've learned something valuable.
So interviews for stories, experiences for a taste. Both ways to test assumptions before leaping.
You got it. It's all about reducing uncertainty through action. Now, inevitably, things won't always go smoothly, right? Experiments fail, paths hit dead ends. How does the book address failure?
Yeah, they tackle that head on. They actually reframe failure completely. It's not the opposite of success. It's the raw material of success. It's essential for learning and iteration.
Ah, the design thinking aspect again. Failure is just data.
Pretty much. They even suggest creating a failure resume.
A failure resume? Listing all your screw-ups?
Sort of, but the focus is on what you learned from each failure or setback. What insight did it give you? How did it help you grow or pivot?
Huh. That actually sounds empowering, turning negatives into learning points.
It really is. It helps build resilience and takes away some of the fear of trying things. Because even if it doesn't succeed in the traditional sense, you still gain valuable information.
Okay. They also mention gravity problems. What are those? Gravity problems are the things you just can't change. The immutable realities of a situation.
Like actual gravity.
Yeah. Or things like, this field I'm passionate about generally doesn't pay well. Or, my company requires me to be in the office 3 days a week. Things that aren't really problems to be solved, but circumstances to be accepted.
So the advice is?
Accept them. Don't waste energy fighting reality. Work with them or around them. Focus your design efforts on what you can influence.
Right. Don't try to solve an unsolvable problem.
Exactly. And related to that are anchor problems.
Anchor problems.
That's when you get stuck on one particular solution, often the first one you thought of, and keep trying to make it work even when it clearly isn't.
It's like being anchored to a sinking ship.
Kind of, yeah. You're so fixated on that solution that you're blind to other possibilities. The key is recognizing when you're anchored and being willing to, well, cut the rope and pivot.
Be open to different solutions, even if it means letting go of your initial idea.
It requires that awareness and willingness to reframe we talked about earlier.
So bringing it all together, designing your life isn't really about finding a single perfect destination.
Not at all. It's about equipping you with the mindsets and tools to build a life, or rather, multiple potential versions of a life that is meaningful, enjoyable, and coherent for you.
And recognizing that it's an ongoing, iterative process. You're always designing.
Precisely. It empowers you to be the proactive designer of your own experience, rather than just reacting to whatever comes along. It's about building, prototyping, learning, and adapting.
It's a very active, hopeful approach, isn't it?
I think so. It gives you agency.
So for everyone listening, maybe think for a second. How could you apply one of those mindsets, curiosity, action reframing, awareness, collaboration, to something you're dealing with right now?
Yeah, or which of those exercises, the reflections, the journal, AEIOU, mind mapping, Odyssey Plans, prototyping, feels like it might give you the most insight at this moment.
Maybe even just commit to one tiny prototype this week, a small experiment based on that biased action. What's one low-risk step you could take?
Could be just sending one email for a life design interview, Or spending 30 minutes mind mapping an interest. Small steps.
Definitely worth checking out the book, Designing Your Life, if this
Right.
resonates. And their website too, right? Designingyour.life.
Yeah, lots more resources there.
Ultimately, it's your unique journey, your unique design process. It keeps evolving. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.